The surah has four main themes. Though some of the Mufassirun have indicated towards a fifth point, because of my shortage of time, I like to touch upon those four key themes of this surah. Number one, the first theme of this surah, the first story of this surah is the al-kahf, the people of Kahf, the people of the cave, as to from which the surah is named, the people of Kahf, the al-kahf. The second point of the story, the second story of this surah is the two acquaintances, the two friends and their experiences. The third story of this surah is that of Musa and Khidr alayhi salam. And the fourth story of this surah is the episode of Dhul Qarnayn. Now these stories are quite lengthy, and I advocate to you to open up the books of Tafsir. Ibn Kathir and others have written in more detail regards to the commentary of these surahs. But in summary, number one, the al-kahf, the people of the cave. They were less than 10, 9 less than 10. And they were living at a time, when they were wanting to practice their faith. They wanted to stay upon Islam, upon Iman, upon practice. But the people were not of that same nature. Rather, the people went against them. They rejected them. They called them as they call us sometimes, or from the Stone Ages, or these individuals, or these people, or they're too Sufi, they're too practicing. What is all of this? And these points are mentioned again and again. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us from the story of the people of the cave, that even though they tried to practice their faith, the people went against them. So what did they do? The al-kahf, what did they do? They left their people. They realized, you know what? For me to practice my deen, for us to practice our deen, these people are going to make our life tough. Society is going to go against us. Culture is going to go against us. Media is going to go against us. Mentality is going to go against us. Behavior is going to go against us. The whole civilization is going to go against us. But what? We're not going to let go of our deen. We're not going to let go of our practice. We're not going to let go of the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. For us, that is. But for the Ashab al-Kahf, they were not willing to let go of the message of Tawheed. So what did they do? They went to the mountains and they spent time on the mountains remembering Allah Azza wa Jal. As a result of which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put them to sleep. Allah put them to sleep. And they slept for 300 years. These Ashab al-Kahf, they slept for 300 years. And when they woke up, and they looked at the sun and the horizon, and they looked at the environment around them, they asked one another, how long were we asleep for? And they said, only a part of a day. Allahu Akbar. We were only sleeping a part of a day. This is what will happen to you and I. We will be in our graves longer. We will be in the ground longer than we are above the ground. We will be in the ground longer than we are above the ground. And we will wake up in Yawm al-Qiyamah. And we will say, oh, how long were we in the grave for? Only a few days? No. Only one day? No. Maybe just a part of a day. This is how quick time will go. So the Ashab al-Kahf, they also said that how long were we in the grave for? Only a part of a day. And then what happened was they were sent one of their brethren to go to the marketplace, and they went with their old coins and they transacted, and the shopkeepers realized that these coins were from over 300 years ago, 3 centuries old. And this is when their story came out. However, look at the situation. Allah changes the table. That they went at the mountain at a time when people rejected them, but they returned back at a time when people accepted them. And this is how the passage of time happens. That we as Muslims living in the West, living in 21st century, not only in the West, across the world, we will have a challenge upon our Iman, upon our Islam. We will be ridiculed. We will be told that we're not invited to parties. We're not invited to weddings. We're not invited to get-togethers. Because why? Apparently we're too extreme. How are we too extreme? Because we are maintaining the maintenance upon living upon the Sunnah and the Quran. If people find that to be extreme, then lakum deenukum waliya deen. For you is your religion, for me is mine. And this is what we find from those people of the Ashab al-Kahf, that they left everything. Allahu Akbar. Look at this, that at the end result, that they will be going to Jannah, and that dog that sat outside to protect them in the cave, we learn in the narration, Allah will also enter this dog into Jannah. A dog, which is an animal that wanders the land, but because of their companionship of the people who are pious, because of their suhbah, because of its suhbah and its connection to people who are pious, who are ahlullah, Allah will also enter this dog into the gardens of paradise. That also teaches us that we can't be perfect. We may never be perfect, but at least try to be in the company of good people. Be in the company of the Ahlullah, the pious people, who at least will help me to do good. If I don't be good, inshallah, through their suhbah and through their company, Allah will enable me to be good. Moving on. Then we find the story of two acquaintances, two friends. Allah had given one friend a lot of wealth, another friend hardly any wealth. And what happened is the friend that had a lot of wealth, he took his other friend to go show him his gardens and his pleasures and his assets and his beauties, like many people do today. We will buy a house, we will buy a business, we will buy a car, we will have a few houses, and we're so proud, and we'll go show around and our friends out of takabbur and out of haughtiness, look how much I've got. Similarly, this is what happened. And when he took his friend around, what did he say to his friend? مَا أَظُنُّ أَن تَبِيدَ هَذِهِ أَبَدًا وَمَا أَظُنُّ السَّاعَةَ قَائِمًا وَلَئِنْ رُدِدتُّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّي لَأَجِدَنَّ خَيْرًا مِنْهَا مُنْقَلَبًا. He said, he became deluded. This is what happens. When a person gets so rich, they think that nothing can break them. This is what Allah is reminding us through this story. You might have a lot of wealth. Your bank balance might be overflowing. Your pocket might be bulging. But remember, this wealth is just temporary. And what happens when people have so much wealth? They think they are unbreakable. They think they are unbreakable. So what did he say? He became his attitude that I'm unbreakable. His mentality becomes such that I'm better than everybody else. So he said, مَا أَظُنُّ السَّاعَةَ قَائِمًا. I don't think the day of judgment will come. I don't think the day of judgment will come. He said, مَا أَظُنُّ أَن تَبِيدَ هَذِهِ أَبَدًا. I don't think that I will lose all of this wealth. And nor do I think that the day of judgment will come. Look at his delusion. He first thinks that he will live forever. And secondly, he thinks that وَمَا أَظُنُّ السَّاعَةَ قَائِمًا, that he thinks that the day of judgment won't come. And then he says, وَلَئِنْ رُدِدتُّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّي لَأَجِدَنَّ خَيْرًا مِنْهَا مُنْقَلَبًا. That if I am returned back to my Lord, this was his madness, his delusion, that if perchance, first he rejects that Qiyamah will come, and he says, perchance if it does come, I will get better in the gardens of my Lord than I have here. This complete delusion. Allah mentions about this in another part of the Quran. أَرَّآهُ اسْتَغْنَى إِنَّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ الرُّجْعَىٰ. That people become so deluded with this wealth. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to send a reminder. So Allah sent a thunderbolt. Allah sent a thunderbolt. And the thunderbolt came and destroyed everything that he had. Similar to Qarun, when he had a lot of wealth, Allah destroyed everything as a reminder that this is temporary, this will not last forever, and this is the situation, that this delusion we need to keep away from. Moving quickly on, the third story of this surah was that of Musa ala nabiyyina alayhi salatu wassalam, and that of Khidr alayhi salam. And someone asked Musa alayhi salam, "Oh Musa, who is the most knowledgeable?" Musa alayhi salam, being amongst the ulul azmul anbiya, amongst the highest selected prophets, and being the nabi of his time, he answered according to him correctly, that I am the most knowledgeable. So Allah wanted to remind him. Allah wanted to give him a lesson. Allah wanted to remind him. So Allah sent him in the company of Khidr alayhi salam. And the Quran depicts this, and they went through episodes, and Musa objected. He said, "Why are you doing this?" So Khidr said, "Don't complain." Again he did something. He said, Musa again said, "Why are you doing this?" Again he said, "Don't complain." This carried on happening until finally Khidr said to Musa alayhi salam, "Oh Musa, you go your way, I go my way. We can't be together." And then Khidr reminded Musa ala nabiyyina alayhi salatu wassalam that, "Oh Musa, everything that you see around us, Allah has a hikmah behind this. Allah's ilm is ala al-fawq, is upon everything. Everything that happens, you may be a Nabi of Allah, you may be amongst the highest selected of the prophets, even then the ilm of Allah is above everything. The ilm of Allah is above everything." And many things that we see that happens in our lives. Things don't change over a 10-15 year period. We are asking the question, when will things change? The example of the land of Al-Palestine, of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. We're asking, 80 years have passed. When will things going to change? But Allah has His wisdom. Allah has His reason. And when Allah's moment comes, Allah will change the landscape. So this is the moral we see from the story of Musa and Khidr alayhi salam. And finally, we learn about the story of Dhul Qarnayn. Dhul Qarnayn was an individual who was like an emperor. He was more rich than the example of that two friends. He was more rich than that first individual. Allah had given him wealth. Allah had given him izzah. Allah had given him ihtaram. He was the richest of the richest. Rather, he was the emperor of his time. But he did not allow this material world to delude him. He reminded himself that from Allah comes everything and to Allah returns everything. This dunya is temporary. Khidr in Dhul Qarnayn, in his moral of his story, he went through many episodes and the Quran depicts upon this. But ultimately the message is this, that Allah had given him power. Allah had given him might. Today, we get into awe when we see a superpower. We get into awe when a country has wealth. We get into awe when a person has might and strength. But everything is temporary. Everything is temporary. Khidr, in the story of Dhul Qarnayn, he also reminded himself that Allah has given me this position of power, might, wealth, existing. But ultimately, everything will come to an end and everything will return to Allah. No richness stays forever. No richness is for a person for eternity. Rather, everything returns back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the moral in the story of Dhul Qarnayn is that we should not get attached to this temporary dunya. This temporary dunya, however much it throws at us, it will not remain forever.